All right, Lance Schilling here with Behind the Pump, and we have one of our favorite people, also one of the sponsors of Behind the Pump, Dr. Rolando Morales. Not only is he a plastic surgeon, he's also done studies in microbiology and other virus stuff. So ironically, and an Ifbb Pro that's in our industry. So welcome on, Dr. Morales.
Thanks for having me, Lance. I'm really excited to be on your podcast, man. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, man, we just got the studio finished, so it's cool to be able to finally do this now.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
This year you had some big plans. Not just in your own business, but in the bodybuilding world, as a promoter and as a and as a competitor yourself with you and your wife. It's kind of taking a little bit of a turn now.
Definitely the start off the year really strong, and then some changes in the powers that be. Just trying to take it day by day now and just kind of redirect and get the shit back on course.
Yeah, I mean, the sad part is that this is not in any of our hands. This isn't something that you can just work harder through. Because I know with you, you've always grown up. If you work hard, you'll get it. If you work hard, you'll get it. If you're not there, work a little harder, take a little longer. So, talk to me a little bit about what you're a small business owner, and talk to me a little bit about from that angle what that's been like for you guys.
As related to the pandemic,
Yeah, as related to the coronavirus and kind of where we're at right now with everything being put on hold, because I think a lot of people they don't realize how deep this goes. They lost their job, but as a small business owner, your bills are still coming. you know.
right, right. So my industry, we're really kind of used as a commodity. Some people don't need to spend money on the procedures I perform, and they can spend that money on other things that are necessary. I'm not a necessity basically. And so, as this economic crisis that has resulted from the pandemic is really kind of starting to set into place, people are getting laid off. People are you're not being able to, pay their bills. Their kids are at home because kids can't go to school. There's families out there that don't have the money to pay for their kids because their kids are normally getting money, getting fed at schools. This is affecting everyone and everything in the world. There's no doubt about it. So, as a small business owner, we have staff obviously that are dependent on us as really the kind of the breadwinners. So when I'm not working, which I'm not, then nothing comes in for the most part. For the that's basically the general idea of it. The pandemic has placed restrictions within all the states and the government, as you've seen. Elective surgery right now has been postponed. It's kind of a gray zone. This arbitrary date that's kind of been evolving has been like April 3rd and April 6th and April 21st, and then it's a moving target. That's the reality of it.
Right.
No one knows. We're looking to our president to kind of hopefully get this resolved and make it go away faster and sooner because we need to get the economy turned back on. People need to get back to work. People need to support their families.
That's an
So
interesting point you just made, and one thing I want to touch on, get your opinion on this. You have you're going to be in one of these unique fields where you are a medical doctor as well as a small business owner, so you get to see it from both sides. On the medical side, what you're hearing is people say, "Stay at home, wait it out, it'll be better." But then you have the business side where people are saying, "We need to get back to work. If you want to stay home, stay home." So my question would be, and people don't like to have this conversation, but realistically you have to have this kind of conversation. Are we looking at something like, if everybody stays home, we limit it to, I'll just come up with the number, 50,000 deaths, and if nobody were to stay home and just fight through this, we'd be looking at 70,000 instead of 50? Or is it more like, if everybody stays home, we're looking at 50, if people don't stay home, we're looking at 500,000? Because I think at
Uh,
that point you kind of weigh your odds. Not that we want 20,000 people
right,
to die, but if you crush
right.
the economy because of it, then really you're already affecting more people than that negatively anyway.
Now I would agree with that, man. That's a hard one. I mean, you hear if you watch the news media and everything like that, and even Dr. Fauci, he's a guy he's an epidemiologist who's kind of leading the pack on the recommendations. It's a double edged sword, like President Trump says, is the cure worse than the problem? And
Right.
it's been pretty close. I mean, I don't know what the answer is, but I can tell you, like, if we don't keep doing what we're doing, what's going to happen is that those patients are getting sick, and there's not, it's going to be a small population. But the problem is the infrastructure of the hospital system is not prepared for it. The world has never seen this before. I mean, the United States, we're a first world country. You're going to overwhelm the hospital systems. And if you don't believe me and you're saying, oh, it's just fake news, look at New York. New
Right.
York's one of the greatest cities in the world, and they are like flipping out, overwhelmed. More ventilators, and to me, a ventilator is like the ultimate level of care. That's an ICU level of care. There's nothing higher than that. If you're on a ventilator and you don't have one, you're dead. You're gonna die. So he's saying, and there's the city's saying they need more ventilators, and that's what, to me, is what concerning is that there's that many patients who are getting that sick that they're not going to be able to get the treatment they need for respiratory failure. To me, that's unbelievable. So I'm not sure if they're underplaying the mortality of this virus, or it's just going crazy on the number of people is getting sick. I don't know what the answer is, but it's going to be different in every city.
Right.
New York City is different than Houston, Texas. It's going to be different than Arizona, in Scottsdale, Arizona, or Key West, Florida. It's the how it's affecting different populations is different. But what's happening in New York is probably, to me, the most concerning thing. And if we don't keep doing what we're doing, that is going to happen to the rest of the country. And it's just the hospital system is not prepared for it. We're not, hospitals don't have 100 ICU beds in their facility. It's not like that. No one's ever anticipated the need for that. So they're going to have to think about it. They're going to have to build all these, temporary hospitals that have all these ICU capacity with these ventilators that we don't have. All these companies are trying to, scramble and make these new ventilators. Tesla, Ford, they don't know what they're doing. They've never made a ventilator before. It's a very complicated machinery, and they're just going to make it. That's how bad it is, Lance. If that gives you just an idea, like the impact of, if you just kind of let it go, that's what's going to happen. Total collapse of the medical infrastructure.
Well, and with all that said, I think that's one unique thing about our country that since we have a capitalist economy, we have social programs, but we have a mainly capitalist type of economy. So where that comes in handy is moments like right now where companies can take their skills and start making things better. Right? That's a huge thing that we have the ability to do here. With having the types of companies like that, that are scrambling. Now, the other thing I would say too is how much of this, in your opinion, is a lot of media hype where maybe they've hyped it up a little too much because we see 35,000 people a year die from the regular flu,
Right.
and here we have this, which it's people have been trying to compare China to us, which is just not comparable on a medical level, society level, right? Like if they have a 3 billion people population, if
Yeah.
300,000 people died to them, that's not, they don't really care.
I don't
They
care.
really don't. So with America, I feel like one of the big things that we've played on, I say the media has played on, is the fear. And that it was, in my personal opinion, I think they've been irresponsible. I've noticed they've also been different stations have been taking off the president's his coronavirus updates. They've been taking it off the news.
Yeah. That's true. I would totally agree with that. I think you're looking at probably like a 20% overhype of the media, and obviously it's political. I think there's a component of politics there. I think there's a lot of, I think there's industries or certain key players that want to have this pandemic take him down, and so he won't get
Right.
reelected next year. And you know, no, I would say it's kind of working. I mean,
Well,
I
and you
mean,
know
it
what, people.
worked with the president with it, whether or not you liked him or not. I guess just the stress of what's going on, this unprecedented time in the U.S. in the world history of complete world economy collapse. That this is what's coming.
Well, and a lot of the national polls that come up with how people feel about how he's doing at his job as handling this as a president have been about 60%. They've actually been really high, and I think one of the misunderstood things is that people put too much on President Trump and not enough on Congress, who in
Yeah,
a time of need like this and a
you're
trillion
arguing.
dollar spending, yeah, they're arguing over things like putting in, and this is not to put any beliefs out there, but just things they should probably not have in. They're putting
Yeah,
in $1 billion for Planned Parenthood. How that helps fight the coronavirus, I have no idea. That's an agenda. They're putting in things where for emissions for airline companies, like to, if they're going to take this bailout, they have to do these emissions. I don't think this is a time right now to hurt people or get a political agenda across. I think it's a time to get in, get it done, and bring this country back where it needs to be.
I 100% agree with that. 100% agree with that. But the politics, how it slows everything down. Unfortunately, it's really the American people are hurting.
Right.
That's what really frustrated me for as an American, as a business owner. I'm trying to take care of my patients. I don't. Our hands are tied at this point. We just got to wait to see what
Well, and
our
then for
government.
you have another aspect. I've been fortunate that we've spent a lot of time together, a lot of time, doing our documentary, and then since then, we've continued to do stuff together. And one thing that I've, always I've really admired about you is the way that you treat your staff. You take so much pride in your staff and your ability to provide them an income, a fun place to work. I've never been, all the times I've been in your office, I don't know how many times I've been there. I've been there a lot. And of all those times, I've never seen anyone have a bad day. And so I know for you, you've got multiple families, right? Like you've got your bodybuilding family, you've got your actual office and work family, and then you've got your family, and then you care about others. So I feel like there's a lot of stress on your plate versus most people.
I would agree with that.
How do you
We
handle
have.
that stress? I mean, you normally you'd go to the gym, right? And now
Yeah,
you're getting creative,
and now we work out at home, right?
right?
So definitely getting creative with the exercise I'm doing at home, and what Corey's prep right now. She's doing an awesome job with that. But that's the only way I can only relieve my stress because Corey knows, and anybody who knows me, I'm very much a warrior, and I'm trying to prepare for what the next step is. So I have Plan B, C, and D lined up, and I'm in the process of making sure that if things happen, I'll be prepared for that because I do not like surprises whatsoever.
Yeah, that's one thing about you. You like to make sure things are set up and they
Right.
are perfect. I mean, and that's every aspect of your life. They say the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And I
Yeah.
would say for you, we made a joke one time in the documentary for, people who who watched it, where me and Chase were driving to your office, and one of us, I don't remember if it was me or him, made a joke of, bet you Dr. Morales, we were like, oh, it's so early, it's awful. And we're like, I bet you Dr. Morales has already gotten up, had a meal, gotten a workout in, took a nap, read a book, and then you got in and you just like, you couldn't have known that was said. And you're like, yeah, I've already, gotten a meal in, then worked out, got another meal, and took a little nap. And me and him, you remember that? Me and him looked at each other. We were like, we literally said that as a joke.
Yeah.
But for you, here you are. You've got your world is being turned upside down, and it's and right now it's like you said. It's the other thing. It's not just okay. We need to survive this for 3 weeks, a month. 3 months. This is kind of indefinite.
It's indefinite. Like right now in the immediate future, me and our practice kind of made some difficult decisions with staffing, and it's something that eats at me every day. We're working really, really hard to make sure we're able to come back and have a company for our our practice come back to. Because without surgeons working, the whole machine stops. When we
Right.
stop, we're done. Like, I have, I'm not saying, you should feel sorry for me, but, there's a lot of small businesses out there. We're talking about nail salons, hair salons, restaurants. I mean, these are, businesses that they put their whole life into, and they can't, when they were being told you can't work,
Well, I mean,
man,
look at one of our nearest industries. Look at
yeah,
gyms, okay?
yeah,
All of
gyms
the
and
best
factories.
gyms, all of our favorite gyms, all of the best gyms around are mom and pop owned gyms. I know almost every single gym owner that's around and in other cities and everything. And gym owners aren't making millions of dollars off of their gym, like they
Yeah,
most of them make a very, very modest income, and it's really something that they love. So here we are with them. They are being shut down themselves. So you take the parent company, just the gym itself, can't even be open. And people aren't wanting to pay their memberships if they can't come to the gym. Which right
yeah,
now, I'm going to say this, I encourage everybody that watches this, pay your gym memberships if you're with a small business. If you can afford it,
I
absolutely
second
pay it.
that. Second that. Yeah,
I mean, it's a very short term thing, but believe it or not, for these gyms, if they go 1 to 2 months with half of the people paying their memberships and that's it, that's enough to close a gym down. And
yeah.
you will not, for 34, to save that $34, you won't have that gym anymore.
You won't have
Um,
that to go back to. And it's a very similar concept. So, tough decisions are made. Things are cut, and you're trying to trim the fat a little bit, and prepare for a little bit of starvation. So, that's that's when the situation we're in right now. We're just running really, really, really lean, and it's just temporary kind of things for our staff. But we find it very important to take care of our staff and bring them back. And so healthcare benefits is a big deal for us. Everyone's still getting their healthcare benefits. We're just gonna take it day by day, and hopefully the government will let us back to work sooner than later.
yeah, absolutely. The sooner sooner the better. Because I mean, you know, when you start looking at the kind of people that are affected, and this isn't to downplay anything. Your stress of what you go through is completely different from what other people go through. Right now, at least for the foreseeable future, you've been responsible most of your life. Actually, I say most all of your life you've been responsible. um, but you've put money away. You've got some money in savings, and you can afford to at least make your bills and run, like you said, run lean for a little while. And there are a lot of Americans, and we'll go with personal trainers, service industry, people who, waiters, bartenders. They got shut down immediately, and a lot of them are living week to week,
Yeah,
and they were shut down fast. And it's not like they got fired or they hated this job and so they left for a different job. There is no other job to go to right now.
yeah.
um, those people are really, really taking it right now.
Man, I can't imagine not having. If you lose a job at a restaurant, you just go find another restaurant to work at. This is
Right.
not that situation. Like, I don't even know. I couldn't imagine being in that situation right now.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, especially you have a family and you are your job as you're fortunate that you have a very successful wife also, but it doesn't change the fact that in your mind you're there to protect your family financially, physically, emotionally. Like that's what your role is, and that's the kind of guy that you are.
yeah,
Um, to be somebody right now that has everything being taken away. I want everybody watching. If you have a personal trainer right now, reach out to them, make sure they're okay because they got cut off. They only work when they work with you, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't know. I don't really know any personal trainers that train for the money. So you know, or else they would have been. Maybe they would have tried to be a doctor instead.
yeah. But I mean, there's trainers out there that do it full time, and they need that money. But it
Yeah,
comes to personal decisions. Some people, it comes to paying your personal trainer and keeping them surviving versus feeding your kids.
yeah.
What would you do, Lance? I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go feed my kids, man.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
these are choices right now that all Americans are making. Like, what do you do, right? Can you trim some fat? You don't really need that, and you feel real bad because you're not supporting them, and they need the money too. But man, your kids can't eat. That's that's the reality of it. If I have to, Lance, I've told you this before, man. I will be out on 610 and Westheimer washing windshields if I have
Yeah.
to feed my kids. It is not beneath me. I will literally do anything for my family. And that's kind of what that's my mindset of it is to right now we're at kind of the stasis. I'm being very productive with my time right now. I'm taking care of my patients. I'm doing new educational videos, new content. I'm still seeing patients online. We're scheduling surgery whenever we come back, and it's been helpful. So that way, because I know when we come back, we're going to come back running. So I'm already booked out for like a month and a half.
Yeah, you stay pretty booked out. I mean, normally, from what I know, you're always about a month and a half to 2 months booked out at least, right?
Yeah, but things can change, right? So if the patient is interested in having surgery, and something happens to their spouse's job, and they lose their job, they're not going to spend money on cosmetic surgeries. That's the reality of it.
Right.
So that's why it's so important that our economy gets back um, turned back on, because we've been turned off. We need to turn it back on as soon as possible and do it by any means possible. And I'm hopeful that the administration is taking it serious, which I think they are, and they're making every effort possible to make that happen. So the new stimulus bill that came out, they're doing some great things with small business, loans to help out employers and employees, unemployment. I mean, it's man, the world's never seen anything like what the United States has just done.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good thing. It's not overkill. It's not just kind of keep us survive. You need to kind of really kind of punch it hard, step on the gas. And I think the administration so far is making the right decisions there.
Yeah, and again, it's tough decisions made all the way around. Whether you're, in the, obviously the president. I mean, no matter what coin he flips, he's wrong at least 50% based.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. But and down to the small business owners, and then again down to everybody. This has been rough. I will say this. I think one of the things that we can take on a positive note from this coronavirus is people are going to be very appreciative of things that we took for granted. I mean, little things. Toilet paper, right? You've taken toilet paper for granted your whole life. And now, you know, now if all that's left is single ply, you're getting that, and I don't know about you, but that's one place I don't skimp on the money. I'll skimp somewhere else, but you always got to get good toilet paper. Now, you're just hoping to get anything. Then when we come to food, we're like a third world country or like a socialist country where you show up and there's shelves, but there's nothing there. People have went and bought it all out, and it's luckily we do live in a society that we have a great capitalist economy where they continue to be stocked, but even then, we can't keep them filled.
Yeah.
I was even saying things like, literally, how many people do you hear on a weekly or daily basis, and they talk bad about their job? I hate my job. I hate going here. I hate going here. I guarantee you, right now, people would love to to work anywhere.
Yeah, I think that is 100% true, man. Because we have employees in our practice, and most of our employees, I would say, enjoy coming to work and are proud to where they work. But there's some that kind of just coast, and I think it's going to be a different situation now. You're going to be very, very thankful for having a job and all that. So,
and then even just the right to the little things, like you and your wife, y'all have a great relationship, and so I know that y'all like to go out on a date. When y'all have a cheat meal or something, y'all like to go out on a date, or do something, and you can't even do something like that. You can't even go to a restaurant and sit across from someone.
yeah,
Everything's been shut off. I think we're going to find that people will be very appreciative of the American way of life. Now, also coming up ahead, there is speculation of a big recession to follow this. It's hard to listen to the media when they talk about this because they've been calling a recession now since Donald Trump was put in office, and it's continued to go up. What do you think implication? Like, what do you think is going to happen after this as far as economically? I mean, assuming that that we're out of this by April 15th.
the economic impact is going to last. In my opinion, it's going to be last 3 or 4 years.
Wow, that long.
that long. Yeah.
And why do you
You
say
got
that?
there's so many, well, just so many factors. Like, look at, what really didn't help was this whole oil and gas war, right? So look at what
Did
oil
not
and gas
help.
is doing. So, and no one's buying it. It's cheap as dirt, and no one's buying it. The cruise liners that are, sailing the seas, they're all docked. The airplanes that burn fuel, they're all docked. Like, think of,
People are sitting at home. They're not driving.
just sitting there doing nothing, no driving. You can't get out of the house. Like, it is that did not help, the economy, and I'm not sure what's going to happen with that, but especially for Houston. Houston's very oil and gas
Yeah.
dependent, and there's literally companies that are laying 300 or 400 people off right now. Just they just they
All those companies, they get a bad rap right now for having to lay people off, and I understand from it looks bad, but these people aren't making money either. I feel like people think that these companies that have had to lay people off are just like we can just kind of do without them for a while, when
right,
really almost, I mean, I know very wealthy business owners that have tons of employees, hundreds. And then I know small people, like us that are just tiny. And nobody I know ever wants to lay anyone off. In fact,
never,
the hardest thing for you to do in a company, the absolute hardest thing is to find good help, train them, and get a well-oiled machine going. And once you've got that, that's a business. The business isn't the walls and the product and the
right.
this.
Yep.
It's that system. You
That's
know,
exactly right, man. You just hit it dead on. I mean, there's no one wants to go into bankruptcy. I don't want to go into bankruptcy. The banks don't want us to go into bankruptcy, and so I don't, I don't know what the answer is, but what the administration is doing right now, I think it's on the right path. Helping out with the unemployment process, and
we just need to get that
getting
Congress on board. Come on, that, drop
helping out the
the
small business loans and stuff like that. I mean, that's you just have to do it. I mean,
right.
I don't see any other way around it.
Now, switching gears a little bit. All right. People have been beaten up by the coronavirus, I think, on the news, nonstop. Let's switch gears a little bit. So now, coming up, hopefully we still have a bodybuilding season left. I know that sounds so, it sounds like we've belittled everything else. Hopefully bodybuilding's still there. But I say that because, one thing I want to do is give a quick shout out to one of the small businesses in our country that really fuels a lot of people's dreams. They fuel a lot of people's livings, and that is the IFBB and the NPC, because the not just directly, like not just show promoters, not just the athletes, people make their money through content by using them. They as trainers. I mean, that's how I made a living from strictly from 2011 till 2017. That's all I did was train competitors. Meal plans. All these people are trainers. They have huge things. Then people like you. Here you are actually promoting a show. You are presenting the Phil Heath, which is known to be one of the hardest. It has the biggest turnout in the history of any show in Texas. Phil Heath does. Here you are. I talked to you earlier this year when you were, talking about doing it, and I was like, man, it's incredible. It's awesome. And now we're pushing that back. Where do you see bodybuilding being able to go, and are we even going to be able to really have an Olympia?
Honestly, don't think it's going to happen, Lance. I don't think the Olympics is going to happen. This is gonna last longer than most people want it to last, unfortunately. And then how do you, like, all these shows are being delayed, and all these professionals that really this is their job, is to train and compete,
And even eat, and they don't have food.
And then they can't eat and train right because they can't be in the gym, right? I can't see a 250-pound mass monster training at home and maintaining any kind of muscle. I just don't see it happening.
If he does, he better share that workout.
They need to qualify. All these, high-end athletes, they're the top 1% of the entire sport, and they can't train and eat correctly, in my opinion. And they won't have shows to compete at to qualify to go to the Olympia. I just do not see the Olympia happen, in my opinion.
Well, and
look at the Olympics.
Exactly.
Olympics is canceled. These are athletes training for 4 years, Lance. Yep. 4 years. They're 4 months out training basically their entire life to do the one Olympic. That's the only thing. That's their dream forever, right? And they're
Right.
just working their butts off to go and compete. And 4 months out, they can't do it safely. The risk is too high.
Well, and
And
then
that's
the other economic impact of things like the people at first they were like, oh, everybody's crying over the NBA being canceled, and you know what? Here's the way you look at it. It's like yeah, like whatever. If you don't care about the NBA, it's a bunch of people that make a lot of money playing basketball, but that's a small percentage of things that are going on. The
yeah,
other thing is you have vendors that make money. You have how many
yeah,
people does it take to staff a stadium for an NBA game? I,
yeah,
I don't know how many people, how much food goes to those places. I don't
yeah,
know. I mean, the amount of money that's generated for the city, think about what you pay for parking, all of these things, they don't just affect these players or just this
yeah,
organization, they affect everybody down the way.
yeah. All the are the bars that show the games.
They
You know,
can't be open anyway, right?
you can't see them. I mean, the impact is just overwhelming, really. If you guys sit down and think about the impact of what's happening, but to Olympia, I think hopefully the powers that be make the decision. We're just going to call it this year. I wouldn't even postpone it. I would just say call it and make sure everybody's healthy and able to train in a safe environment, eat well. Because I tell you what's going to happen, Lance, is this is another wave is going to hit us again in the fall, in the winter.
Of the
It's going to
same
happen.
of the same virus.
Same virus. Yeah. Same virus is going to hit again. It's going to be a double wave.
And and
And
and
hopefully by then, this is the saving grace. Is hopefully by then we've generated enough medications that can fight it or slow it down. We have patients to treat. It'll never be as bad as this. This is the first time that any human body has ever seen the virus. That's why it's so bad. The next time we'll be a little more prepared for it. We'll have the medical equipment. We'll know how to contain it quickly. But it will be like the flu. We're gonna have a new version of flu basically.
or
And
like polio, where now nobody has polio.
so that's going to happen. And are these big public events to be able to be held in a safe way? And I don't know. I'm hopeful, but I think the way society perceives what they do for fun and stuff is going to change forever. Like you're not going to see people want to be around large crowds of people anymore. I think, you know,
I don't know. I think that this is my opinion. I think one, I don't trust the media at all. I know people in the media and good people in the media, and I just know things that happen that aren't true, that are blown up, and I think that what we'll find out is whenever this has kind of lost its luster through the media and it started to have a downturn, that they will
mm-hmm.
quit talking about it and they'll act like it never happened. And people are very, very forgetful. Just a month and a half ago, here we are. All we can talk about is impeachment, 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 impeachment,
Yeah,
and now nobody talks about it. It was
right.
Russian collusion, Russian collusion. Then they found that to not be there. Bam, they quit talking about impeachment. Then impeachment doesn't work. Bam. And so what I've felt personally is that the media has used this almost like whenever you put a pilot on TV, where you put it on and you see that people like it. People were talking about it. It got good ratings. So what do you do then? You say, okay, well, we're going to put more of this out there because that's what is getting people's attention. I really feel like the media has used this to its advantage. And now it's funny because I don't think it's also so simple that you just was it just the media and then government. I think the media saw it, they put it out there, and then once they did that, the government sees a chance to have a we can get some control. Fear creates control. Anytime people are scared, they're willing to give up freedom for security. And so I think we've seen a mixture of those things being utilized, and I'm going to go ahead and call out the Democrats on trying to squeeze some of their own agendas in recently, as proof that they are, who was it? It was Rahm Emanuel, one of Obama's people, that said, "Never let a good tragedy go to waste," and we are seeing that to play right here, right now.
I agree with that statement. And yeah, I agree with you that the media has something to do with it. I was on a website, like a CNN website the other day. I think it was yesterday. and a freaking pop up came on for me to do like a premium subscription. Are you really advertising for me to be on your website? Are you kidding me? This is CNN. Hey, give me a break. That's man. I was like, what?
Y-
Right?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. People, you know what? I'll say this, and I'll use you as an example. You know, people care when they show they care, right? Telling me you care. That's people can do that all the time. Oh, I care, but they don't really care. For someone like you, one thing that you did and is you even stopped all your advertising, and you told me it's because you didn't feel like it was ethical to be advertising for things that were not necessary right now.
Right. Yeah.
And and then you look at these people and they're like, I get my subscription. You should be giving. You're the news. Give it out for free.
For
That's what you
free.
should do, and give the right news out too. It's funny
Right.
because I've been watching, and that's why I think CNN and all them are starting to pull this off. Here they were in a select group of people that were allowed to be in front of the president when he was talking. I mean, a very select few because you can't have too many people in a room, right? And the kinds of questions that these journalists and reporters were asking were so ridiculous. You had one shot to really ask a question that was worth a shit. And instead, you asked some bogus thing to try to trip someone up and get your sound bite and say, oh, look at this. I think the irresponsibility shown by the media and all the people that were involved in these channels, they should all be fired. Every one of them.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
man, it's frustrating. I agree with you, man. It's
when you
hard
have the
to.
opportunity to do something good, when you have that opportunity, most people are never really given an opportunity where they can really do something good on a large scale, right? So you go around
Right.
trying to do small things, right? Like whenever we did that documentary, we literally wanted to change the world with it. We wanted to help people. It was a genuine thing, and we had the ability to do it, and with these reporters and with this Congress, they've had the ability to make an incredible impact, and they chose sensationalism and agendas over helping the American people.
I can see a lot of argument for that. Yeah, I agree with that. I can't even watch those new conferences anymore because it's just so frustrating that some of the questions I see them ask, and I just wait for it to kind of come out and pray, and then I try to read what I need to think, get out of it. But
Yeah, like, hey, is it racist to call it the Chinese coronavirus? Well, it did start in China. I don't think it's necessarily racist at all. I think it's wild that that's what people want to focus on is division, right?
right,
Right now is a time for everybody to be coming together, not try to incite something that wasn't there. Because a lot of times, what you see when that happens is nobody was thinking that, and then all of a sudden now they play it up like, "Oh, you didn't realize this? You should have."
yeah,
This is
yeah. They're
awful.
making it worse by keep bringing it up. Just they want him to say it again. Just keep saying it again. They love it
Yeah,
because it gets ratings. They just he said it. Just be done with it. Don't let him say it again, and just get on with it. Get on to the things that are going to help people.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Anger is not what we need right now. It's definitely not what we need, and panic isn't. We're very lucky, you and I, that we live in Texas. Although you and I are like 5 hours away from each other, I had explained that to Flex Wheeler the other day whenever we were talking about a project, and he was going to be in San Antonio, and he wanted to do something in Dallas, and he was like, "Oh yeah, man, while we're here, we'll just do that." And I said, "Well, bro, that's a 5.5 hour drive, you know." But whenever we had the flood in Houston, what happened? Every Texan that had a truck and a boat was out in Houston. They were spending their own money to go help each other out because we have that kind of community here where we want to help each other. By the time FEMA and the government got there, we were like, it's already handled.
It was already done. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true. And I witnessed it firsthand. It was really cool to see the community come together and help each other out. That was a really cool thing.
that's what we really need to be perpetuating right now is let's come together as a community. Let's come together as people. Like right now, I don't care if you're at the top of the mountain or if you're at the bottom of the mountain, we're all suffering. Like right now, your lifestyle is suffering. You've had money in the bank that you're gonna have to rebuild. You've had, your business has suffered some things where, like you said, some people aren't gonna be able to get that surgery they were plugged in for, and then people who were gonna call you 2 weeks ago, now they're gonna have to wait too. I'm
Yeah.
sure that funding I know patients that use care credit to get their procedures done.
Right.
I'm sure that's going to affect funding.
I totally agree. And that is happening more than you think.
I know it is. So,
Mm.
what kind of advice? One thing as a medical doctor with a background in microbiology and also and viruses too, right?
It's called microbiology and virology.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what would be your advice as a medical doctor? And then what would be your advice just as a motivational person of how people can right now while they're not able to work out, at least keep the mental sanity together?
Um, Man, you just gotta kind of focus. Try not to worry so much. Just go to what you can control, and obviously limit the exposure you have to the community outside. Because right now, I would say most cities are going in, like Houston right now, just went into a lockdown. So now we really can't go out. But that's the goal of this whole flatten the curve thing is when we're not exposed to each other, then we're going to decrease the transmission of it. But stay home, get creative. Spend time with your kids. That maybe you work too much, and now this is kind of a silver lining. You're gonna be home with your kids all the time. Play with your kids. Go ride a bike, go to the park or something like that. Spend more family quality time. Maybe you'll never get this amount of time with your family ever again. I mean, there's a lot of workaholics out in the world right now, and maybe this is a reset for people to see why you work so hard. You're working so hard because to support your family. Be with your family, man. Love your kids, love your family, love your wife, and spend more quality time with each other. And find outlets of stress relief, meditation, books, yoga. I don't know. Start cooking good food, not crap food. Don't order out. Actually, go buy some food from the grocery store. Wait in line for an hour, and then you and your wife cook together. I think people are going to change after this. Hopefully, in a good way. Appreciate what you have, and why you're
Exactly.
working your butt off to have the quality of life you had. Now you understand why. Maybe it's a big slap in the face for the world to have to endure. But we're gonna, as human beings, we're gonna interact with each other differently forever. Like this is not gonna be people should hate shaking hands. It's probably gonna almost be kind of one of those taboo things. I don't want to shake your hand anymore. Um, Going to big crowded areas, I don't think that's gonna be quite as popular anymore, just because of the fear of what this virus has done to society. And these generation now are like my kids that they're calling like Generation C. That these kids were being raised in this environment of this, this fear of getting a disease, and what people not interacting, and now we're all on our phones and doing FaceTime and all this stuff. Like so we're not actually physically seeing people anymore.
Well,
Their world.
starting in 2034, we're going to see a new batch of people, and they're going to be called the quarantines.
That's it. The quarantine. That's it. I thought it was at Generation C,
Yeah,
but
that's going to be the ones. That's the new baby boom.
yeah, I have a teenager right now and another soon to be teenager. So I think that's a good term for them.
Quarantines.
It's gonna be hard. They've never the world has never seen this happen before, and they're witnessing it firsthand and seeing the stress of the parents. And Corey and I never talk about anything about financials in front of the kids. Just it's just not that's not the stress that they want. And I
Right.
can pick up the phone right now and go show what my kids are doing right now, and they're outside playing frisbee golf in the backyard by the pool. That's what makes me happy. When I walk out of my office and go see my kids smiling and giggling and listening to music and dancing, man, I'm so thankful. You have no idea, like that makes me happy that they're not feeling the stress, that they're enjoying each other, they're not on their phones, they're outside, playing. I'm blessed, very thankful. Life could be a whole lot worse.
Absolutely. That's one thing I think we should all take away from this. Be thankful for what you've got. Be thankful for what you had, and when you get it back, remember the times where something as simple as your toilet paper could be taken
Yeah,
away. And I'm not trying to make a joke on that. I mean, something that simple. Um, we live very fortunate lives here in America. I love this country. I absolutely love this country. I know you do too. You've been
yeah.
a product of everything that's good in this country. Me as well. And so that was great words from you, Dr. Morales. And dude, we look forward to doing more with you this year, whenever things ramp up, especially. And If you guys are wanting to look at people in the future for plastic surgery, workout advice, he's IFBB Pro as well as his wife. Go visit him at on IG at Doctor underscore Morales Fit. Isn't that right? I'll put it
Yeah.
right here. It's gonna be sitting right here. All right, right where my finger is. It'll be sitting right there. So we'll put your link up there, and everybody watching, stay home, stay safe if you can, and whenever we get back to work hard because we got a lot of rebuilding to do in this economy.
Thanks for having me, Lance. Appreciate it, man. Always a great time talking to you.
All right, brother. Let me know if you need anything.